is my pleasure to pass the microphone around tonight in recognition of Fred Hess and his 17 years with the Palm Beach Police Department, going way back. And Fred, I remember very well the day that you walked in and applied for the job, and we knew it would be the funniest field training officer situation that could possibly happen. A little bit older guy with a field training officer that's 25 years old. All the citizens out on the street thought it was reversed, and that happened many times. So we'll start first with Tim Moran from the Palm Beach Police Foundation, and John Scarpa, if you want to come forward as well. If you don't know it, Fred has been the MC of the Palm Beach Police Foundation's Policeman's Ball for, I think, every year.
Yes. And Fred has agreed to come back over the next couple of years until he decides never to come back. But first, as a citizen of Palm Beach, I'd like to say thank you for all you did. As your friend, I'd like to say I'm very proud of everything you've done, and I've been proud to be your friend for many years. You've always been going out of your way to make sure we always needed everything we had at the foundation. But at the same time, Fred had a funny side too, and I'll bring this up. Fred would be one of those guys. Now, Fred, his wife was up in, no, I'm not going bad quick, hold on. Fred's wife was up in Philly, and he would be alone on the weekends a lot of times. So I'd say, hey, Fred, how you doing? You come on over for dinner with my wife and I. We got a few friends over, so you come over. And I got to know Fred so well. I really did. I really enjoyed his conversation. I really enjoyed seeing him in town. I really enjoyed. But there'd be nights, you know, the kids just want to get a videotape, so we go up to Publix, and I'd park in the fire zone for about 2 seconds. And all of a sudden, Fred would come up with the blacked out windows, put the window down, and say, "Hey, Timmy." "Hi, Fred, how you doing?" "My daughter's inside." "Let's keep it moving. You know you're not allowed to park there." I thought I knew him well. But no, going back to Fred, we can't thank you enough for what you did for the foundation, number one. Number two, for the town. And number three, as a friend. With that, I'd like to bring up John Scarpa.
Thank you, Tim. Since he's used all of our time that we were allotted, I just want to say, Fred, all the best to you and to your wife, Denise, and God bless her on the surgery that's about to be happening. And
Thank you.
invite us all to Scotland when you're there and organize that it is. But as a former president of the FOPA, as the current president of the Palm Beach Police Foundation, it really has been a privilege and an honor for us to work with you, and the support that you provided to everyone with the FOPA and also certainly with this foundation. It's been great. So on behalf of all of us, on behalf of our board of directors, we wish you a great retirement and look forward to seeing you again many more times. God bless.
If any of you are wondering why I'm up here tonight, it's not because I was on the hiring board that hired Fred, nor was I the chief. Was it because I was the chief at the time that promoted him to sergeant, or I was chief at the time that I promoted him to captain. The reason I'm here tonight is I'm paying back a debt. Fred was the master of ceremonies at my retirement party, and he did such a wonderful job. I have been rehearsing this now for 5 years, to just in my hope to approach what a great job you did.
Thank you, Chief.
When I think of Fred, I think of really one word: enthusiasm. And we have Michelle from the Daily News here, and when she runs her article tomorrow on Fred, that's my quote. Fred was a 25-year-old's enthusiasm the entire time I've known him, and he's just a couple years older than that now. So I would like to introduce Director Bluen for the official retirement of Fred. Oh, I'm sorry, that's right, order-wise I jumped out. Patty, you're out. We're gonna get you up here a little bit early.
Yes, sir.
Patty Sands, who is the president of the Greater South County Road Association, of which Fred is a director, has a presentation to make.
Thank you very much. When we heard that Fred was going to be retiring, I called Chief and said, "No, I'm sorry, I have to keep him." And but let me back up a little story first. We've always had the pleasure on the board of South County Road of having an officer, or having a public relations officer, and I had the privilege of working with Janet Kinsella for many years. Now, those of you who know Janet know that she is a force into herself. And she ran things, she ran me, she ran everything. And so when she said she wanted to retire, I said, no, you can't. And then she says, oh no, Fred Hess is going to step in and take my place. You are so lucky, you are so fortunate, you're gonna love it. And then he walks in and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? He's formidable, he's prompt, he's all the things I am not. And so as we started to get into some of the things, and I might note, our board is made up of more women than men. And if you're ever on a board of women, you know that occasionally there can be discussions that aren't particularly business oriented, or they can be business oriented and they just drag on. And we always had that steady force that would say, are we going to get back to it? Can we continue with? And how about maybe if we go to this topic? So it's always been wonderful now having Fred. And recently, we've been kind of leaning on him more and more and more. And then when he said last year that he was retiring, I thought, oh my God, it's happening again. We're gonna have to now put up and do with not having him. Fred, you have been an awesome presenter on our board. You really have helped us all, steered us in many different times when we absolutely needed it, and been that stay on business kind of a taskmaster. And I must say, we needed it, and we are going to sorely, sorely miss you. Absolutely. Please, on our behalf, Denise has crafted you a personal little something for you to remember that South County Road would take you back in a heartbeat if you ever want to come back. Thank you, Fred, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Have a seat, Fred. You no longer work for the police office. You don't have to protect me. You're not on guard.
It's after 5 o'clock.
I think that was a smart move on your part, inviting the media, because I had some stories to share that I won't be sharing tonight. I'm kidding. I have a special affinity in my heart for Fred Hess. From the time he worked here, him and I worked very closely together, approximately 2 or 3 feet from each other for a while. My loss of hearing is partially from the shooting range and partially from listening to him talk within ear's length. I did move down the hall sometime later on, and even then I closed my door and I could still hear him. With that said, there are certain people in police work where this is it's work, it's a job. There's other people that there's a calling. Fred Hess is one of those people that I've worked with in my now 25 years of law enforcement, where I believe this was a calling for him. And you hear the word enthusiasm get tossed around a lot when you mention his name. I was speaking to Michelle Dargan from the Shiny Sheet yesterday, and she asked me for some quotes on Fred Hess, and I told her I just gave you some quotes a few weeks ago. But again, enthusiasm just popped into my head. It's the first thing I think of when I think of Fred Hess. I mean, he's just, I'm passionate about the job, but he's got me beat in enthusiasm, and I'll give you an example to illustrate that. I love my job. I think about it often, and I do the best I can. But I don't bring my police radio home on the weekends and my days off and listen to the radio calls. And the reason why we know that is because we would show up on calls, and hot calls or in-progress calls or serious calls, and who would be there and similar dressed as he is right now, but Fred Hess. And we said, what are you doing here? How do you know about this? He'd be on his time off, and he would hear that maybe we didn't need assistance. We'd have to assure him that we had it covered, and we'd send him back home. But he was very absorbed in this job, so enthusiasm and dedication really fits the definition when I think of his dedication to the law enforcement in general, because Fred Hess started in law enforcement or in public safety before he even got to the town of Palm Beach. He's always been a burning passion. I think he started in like 1890, somewhere around there. In 1970s, is that it? 1970s, he started in the field of public safety and went on to a career in medical sales. It was successful, by all accounts, and was a undertaker or funeral director, and he had a very varied career. But this is really his driving passion, and it's really evident in his dedication to his job. I can't say enough about things about you. The man's extremely intelligent. He's a member of a very small club of those, despite the hiccups he had very early on in his career, was able to overcome them and convince the panel from other police departments that he was promotable and that he was meant to be a leader and a supervisor within the department. So in a very short period of time, I think within a period of 12 years, roughish, he became a captain in the police department. He's held a variety of positions within the police department. Some of them maybe begrudgingly, because I've worked with him on some of those. Because his heart is in where the action is, wearing the badge and the gun and being out on the street, interacting with people and helping people. But we give him some other administrative tasks that are important to the police department, where he excels. His communication skills are top-notch, about the top I've ever seen of a police officer since I've been there. He had natural ability. Some of that maybe came from his background prior to coming into law enforcement. His ability to communicate with the public, that's why he was involved in so many programs with the Citizens Police Academy and the Teen Police Academy. And he really excelled and elevated those programs and started I don't know if he started, but he certainly developed them within the department, the Juvenile First Offender Program and the Crisis Intervention Team. Those programs wouldn't exist, the success that they are today in the Palm Beach Police Department, if it wasn't for Fred Hess. I mean that with all my heart. The guy, again, he's dedicated. And I just want to wrap it up. I want to present him with a couple of things. With all sincerity, he's a man of great integrity and honor, and I appreciate him. And I think I speak on behalf of all of us that have worked with him. Congratulations, friend, on your retirement. On behalf of his co-workers, we have they left out the Marsh. It's Fred M. Hess, but who screwed that up? It's Frederick Marsh Hess. Get it right. From December 9, 1996 to January 24, 2014. And it's got all of his ranks and all of his insignias. Congratulations, Fred. And I think one of the more prized possessions is the Palm Beach Police Shield, our badge. Something to always remember us by and something to always have. And my picture's on the back of this.
I'll remember you.
And some wonderful comments, including one by John Scanlon, who appreciates his gusto, his wit, his wisdom, and the mustache will be sorely missed. Congratulations, Fred.
Thank you, Chief.
I do have one more. Back in the early 90s, there's something called pepper spray was invented and it was introduced to law enforcement. This is long before the tasers were invented. Well, Captain Hess, Marsh Hess, had an affinity for the pepper spray when he was on calls. More so than I've ever seen. I didn't understand why this guy was asking for a new canister every week. I didn't know if he was spraying it on his food or what the situation was. But might have had something to do with a couple of the early hiccups in his career. But we wanted him to be safe in his travels to Pennsylvania. So with the help of Bob and Todd, and they're not here tonight, we have a extinguisher type of device. It's more powerful than pepper spray. It's beer deterrent. And you just use this to break the handle if you ever so need it.
Thank you, Chief.
Oh, you're right.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
couple of quick thoughts come to mind. I was a police officer in Pennsylvania many, many years ago. And Fred, when you're in Philadelphia, although I was not in Philadelphia, don't try to show this to anybody to pass yourself off as a police officer. They will recognize it's slightly larger than the real badge. The other thought is that was heartwarming to me, and all the different things as a police chief you have to ask police officers to do. There's so many different things. And one of the hardest things I ever had to ask any police officers to do in my career, 28 years in the Palm Beach Police Department and 3 years elsewhere, was not Joe Riccieri to go buy a couple of kilos of cocaine off of guys with machine guns, or writing some voluminous report that would be on the front page of every newspaper like a couple of you have done, or to stay up straight to do an undercover drug deal that lasted 3 days long. One of the hardest things I ever had to ask anyone to do was take over code enforcement. Director Bluen, at the time, Captain Bluen and Sergeant Hess took a job that was completely foreign to what any police officer does or wants to do. And they did a fantastic job at that. And that was that 2 or 3 feet away that they sat for a fairly long period of time, crammed in an office with a lot of other people, parking enforcement and so on. And they did a fantastic job at that. So I've looked around the room, and if I'm still able to give the chief's evil eye to anybody, I'm counting on Joe Riccieri and a few other people to come up here. And now that he's no longer a police officer, who knows what his acts could be like? They could be anything. And is there anyone else who would like to come up and have something to say? Joe, I'm going to pick on you first.
We're here to celebrate Fred. So many memories. So many memories. I have like a couple questions. Since you wear your pants so high, I always wondered if you had to pull your gun, would it hit your armpit? Just things that I was worried about. Just joking, really. He doesn't really wear it up here, right here. No, seriously, I've had the